Yeah.
All right. Thing about death row is, what that TV show in England didn't show the other night, is that hundreds of these guys, according to DNA evidence, has proved conclusively that they were set up by corrupt prosecutors and detectives. How can they allow a death penalty when hundreds of innocent guys are getting executed and murdered? Imagine how many people got executed before DNA evidence came around, which is only in the last 10 or 15 years. To me, that is completely obscene. My attorney represented a guy called Ray Krone, a snaggletooth killer in Arizona. Ray Krone was found, a victim was found. She was a waitress who worked at a bar, and a bite mark was found on her leg. DNA was found at the scene, and they wanted a quick solution to the case because prosecutors, their careers depend on convictions. Detectives, their careers depend on convictions as well. They get promoted. Murder cases are the biggest cases that they can get promotions of. They grabbed Ray, a local guy who was in the bar on that day, and they paid an expert witness $50,000 to get up in court and say that Ray's bite matched the mark found on the victim when it didn't. It's so common in America, it's called testifying. Now, the DNA evidence found at the scene was suppressed because it didn't match Ray's. They knew someone else was involved, but they just wanted a quick solution. Ray's on death row for 10 years, and he's almost getting executed multiple times. My attorney, Alan Simpson, got involved, and he went and spoke to Ray. And he went to court, and he found out about the DNA evidence, and he forced them to hand over the DNA evidence. They didn't want to give it up because it didn't match Ray's. A judge forced them to give it up. They ran the DNA, and instantly it matched someone who was in the prison system. Alan Simpson went and talked to that guy, and he confessed to the murder. It could have been solved as simply as that, but they already had their man, Ray, and they weren't going to back down. When a system is based on the promotion of people because of convictions, not the truth doesn't matter anymore, it's Alice in Wonderland justice. The public wants someone, they want the crime to be solved.
Yeah.
They're worried there's a murder at large. They just grab a local bad guy, and usually it will be a black guy. If you look at the amount of African Americans on death row, it's off the scale. And who's going to stand up for a local bad guy? Nobody.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys can't even read and write, a lot of them. They don't know how to work the court system. So they end up getting executed. So in my mind, the death penalty is unconscionable. It shouldn't be when it's so corrupt like that.
I'm doing justice, law and punishment in philosophy and ethics at the moment, and there was this quote saying that people without the capital get the punishment,
Yes.
And I've been really interested by, do you know who Eileen Wuornos is?
No.
She was the first serial killer who was a woman.
Okay.
And she was executed 4 years ago, but there was a documentary which showed her the day before her execution, and she's quite obviously mentally ill.
Yeah.
But she just
Still filming.
But she just passed saying that she was mentally stable.
Yeah.
So does that, and it sort of suggested that how can anyone fail that test? Do you know anyone do you know about that?
For mental competency?
Yeah, and it was, if she could pass it saying she was sane, it almost shows it's impossible to fail it.
In America, it's called Rule 11. If you're classified as Rule 11, they send you to the nut house instead of facing proper legal prosecution. And this is an ongoing thing. There are cases. I just read about the first case of someone who was who got off death row because of being ruled mentally incompetent. I can't remember exactly the guy's name. If you guys want to study more about this in a contemporary way, there's an absolutely wonderful group of people right now out of London, because what needs to happen is the world needs to understand the corruption and how all these innocent people are getting set up. They need to understand that. Because you're thinking, right, if one of your family members gets murdered in plain view, and say it gets recorded on CCTV and you can see the murder and conclusively, you're thinking that guy then should get the death penalty, he should get executed. Most of the public feel that way. Sorry, not you, most of the public feel that way. And I can understand that. I can't argue against that really. But what I can argue is, if hundreds of people are getting sent down who are innocent, just because of corrupt prosecutors and detectives trying to advance their careers, this is obscene. How can this be? That is state-sanctioned murder. It's the detectives and the prosecutors who should be going to prison. Now this wonderful group of people in London, called 1 for 10, have just, what they're about to do is they're about to go across America and they're going to interview 10 different people who are innocent and released from death row, including Ray Krone, who I mentioned earlier. He's going to be the first interview. And they've got a website now, they're on Facebook, and they're on Twitter, and they're on everything. And they're trying to...
Is it 1 for 10?
1 for 10, yeah. They're trying to raise money right now. They've got up to about 6,000 or 7,000, I think. They're trying to raise 30,000 within a month. But if you guys want to help this, go to their website and just spread it on your social media and let as many people as possible know about it, because this has never been done. They're going to film each interview of these people who've been released from death row, and they're going to put them on the internet, these films, for teachers to use, for students to use. Everyone's going to get to access it for free. And the goal is to raise public awareness of how corrupt the US justice system is, to send hundreds of people to their deaths who these prosecutors and detectives know from the get-go are innocent, because they just want to advance their own careers and solve the crimes and satisfy the public. Now that's not justice to me. That's murder. Okay, anyone questions?
But just one more question.
Yeah, go for it.